Okay, guys. At this point, we'll be looking at array shape and reshape. Okay, so basically, what is shape and reshape? One important key point to keep in mind is that reshape basically does what is a reverse of what shape can do, and shape is a reverse of what reshape can do. So um, shape is a method. So I just added this here for us. This is sorry. Shape is an attribute, right? It's an just like ending, detail, base, and shape. We call the shape attributes on the array we're trying to get the shape of. While reshape is a method. So this is just an external an extra shape attribute. I keep misusing words. I'm sorry about that. This is an extra attribute for us to keep in our NumPy 2 belt. So, what is shape? So, basically, shape is used to check the dimensions of an array and to check um, the, the shape of the array by rows and columns. So, we'll be looking at this in a example. So, I'll create an array variable here, and I'll say np dot array, right? I'm going to create a two-dimensional array. I'm going to create a two-dimensional array. So inside of my array function, I'm going to pass in the argument of the first dimension, yeah, and inside of it, just to make the code more readable, I'll pass in the second, the nested array inside of this array here. So I'll say 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 4, and then I'll create another item starting from 5, no, sorry, 5, just delete all of this. 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? So we just created a two-dimensional array holding these two items here. So let's check the shape of this array using the shape attribute. If I should print this, it returns 2 as the first index and 4 as the second index. And if we look at our um, array here, we have 2 rows. So that's this first index here, 2 rows, row 1 and row 2. It calculates that, and then it checks for 4, it checks for the column, 2 here the rows, and 4 the column. 1, which is this, 1 and 5 here, 1 and 5, 2 and 6, 2 columns, 3 and 7, 3 columns, 4 and 8, 4 columns. So it returns the shape of 2 by 4, which is kind of like a 2 by 4 matrix matrix system. This is kind of like a 2 by 4 matrix system. So we use this to check the shape of the array by columns and arrays or dimensions. So the next thing is reshape. So reshape is a method in NumPy and not an attribute. Attributes are being denoted with just their keyword, right? While methods are being denoted with their function with the brackets here. So let's look at how to use the reshape on our arrays and have a perfect understanding of what it does. I'm going to create another array called numpy dot array, and inside of this array I'm going to create just a one-dimensional array, right? And here I'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, and yeah, okay, I'll leave this as 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So let's say we want to reshape this array, right? To a right here we just have a one-dimensional array. So if I should print this array dot ending array.ending is going to return to us 1, right? But we want to reshape this to a two-dimensional array whereby we have um right now we don't have, we just have 1 row, right? 1 row. Let's check this. Let's check the shape. So we just have 1 row, right? And 4 columns, right? So checking on this, since this is a one-dimensional array, it just returns the amount of columns that are being present, right? So let's try to let's see if we could reshape this guy to become a two-dimensional array where we have um let's say we have stuff like this. I'm going to draw a particular example that I mean. We can have 1, 2, and we can have 3, 4, just like this. So we want this guy to be on its own row and this guy to be on his own row. That means we have two. Basically, we just have a 2 by 2, a 2 by 2 matrix here, right? Which is 2 rows and 2 columns. So I'll get rid of this and let's see how we could perform this action using reshape. So I'll say R2. I'll call my first this guy arrow here. Sorry, I'll call this original array and then pass the reshape method to it. And inside of the reshape method, remember we need to pass how many rows do we want and how many columns do we need. So we want to reshape this to 2 rows and then 2 columns, right? And now I'm going to print R2 to the terminal so we can see the output. And you can see we just have what we have here now. It's an array that was reshaped on by 2 by 2, right? Take this, put it in one row, take this, put it in one row, and then we have 2 rows and then we have 2 columns, right? If I should print out the dimension of this array, you could see here we have two-dimensional array. So this is how to use reshape um on a one-dimensional array or on an array on any array you're trying to reshape, right? Whereas if it's a two-dimensional, three-dimensional array. So take your time, play out with this, do more digging, and hopefully till you get a hand around the reshape or shape method. The same goes for copy and view as well. So, but there's one important thing you need to know about when using reshape. So this is what's going to happen. I'm going to get rid of 4, the last value here, right? I'm going to get rid of that 4, and I'm going to run this. Watch what happens. We have an error. The value error that was raised, and the description of the value error says cannot reshape array of size 3 into shape 2 by 2. So when it means size 3, it calculates the total length of the item of the values inside of the array. So we have a 3 values, or whereas 3 items inside of this one-dimensional array. So it cannot reshape 3 into a 2 by 2. It's not possible because if we reshape 2 by 2, which is 2 rows and 2 columns, we're going to be missing. Of course, we could have 2 rows, but we're going to be missing a column. A column. So this is going to throw a Python error because Python is not going to allow us reshape this array because we're going to be missing one column. So it's just like I'm going to draw. Let me just put this. So we're going to have 1, 2, and then we'll have 3, right? Something is missing here. Like there's something supposed to be filled here. So this would return an error. This is not possible. But in a situation where we're stuck like this and we want to share something, we want to reshape this array by 2 by 2, right? So there's another way we could do it. The basic thing is to look for a perfect way to reshape that array where it's not going to have a missing column, right? It's not going to have a missing value or a missing column, right? So to do this, remember we want how many rows? How many rows do we want? How many rows can we reshape this into? And how many columns can we reshape this into that is not going to return an error? That will make perfect sense. So this can only happen this way. 2, yeah. So this is the only possible way this can happen for this to be reshaped. So we have 3 rows and 1 column. So we reshape this. We say 3 by sorry, I'll say 3 by 1, right? 3 by 1. So I'll get rid of ending and print R2. Let's see if it still returns to us an error or if we got it right. So wow, boom, we worked. So you could see you you have to observe your data and then know uh, when and how or where to perform um, um, the right reshaping if at all you're trying to reshape your array. So I'm going to extend these numbers to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 2, 3. Okay, so on a perfect tense, just try on your own and see how you could reshape. Take a moment, pause the video, see how you could reshape this to your choice of dimension or your choice of shape. So you could pause the video, but immediately you play the video, if at all you post it, I'm going to be running my own example on how to see how to reshape this. So I could do this. We have 8 values here. I could say, okay, reshape this into 8 rows and then give me 1 column. That will work. That will work perfectly fine. See, that worked. Or I could say, okay, if I put these first two, 1 and 2 in their first row, okay, in their second row, and this in the third row, and this in the fourth row, that will work. So 4 rows, and if you watch, they have 2 columns each, 2 columns each, 2 columns each. And then I just change this to 2, and let's just bring this to the console and see what happens. It works, right? So let's see. If I take this tree and take this tree and take these two, you see we're missing a value now, right? And if we're trying to say, okay, do this by 3 rows and 3 columns, it's not going to work because we're missing a value here, right? So it's just basically how to make sense of your own data and know when the perfect figure to use for reshaping um, your array according to rows and columns. So that's it for array reshape. Next thing we're looking at is iterating um, arrays.